What is up with fiction mixing human genetics and alien genetics? I swear when this is done throughout any form of fiction, they end up making some of the strongest kids or babies in the universe, even Superman's case. Do you ever wonder what would happen if Superman had a kid with a human? A Kryptonian human hybrid? It doesn't take rocket science to know that you're just destined to have an extremely strong baby, especially these writers wanting to make hybrids of humans and aliens being super duper overpowered. Jonathan Kent, let's talk about him. His character went through some changes, but I think I'll go over the New 52 first, even though there is also a Rebirth continuity because there was some retconning stuff that did happen. But just for confusion's sake, I'll be going over New 52 for now. The differences between these two being one being named John Lane Kent and one being John Samuel Kent. There's a difference. Not going over this yet, though. You know what I mean? Son of Kryptonian and a human. He got the same abilities, as powerful as his dad was under the Yellow Sun. They even say he possessed abilities no one could have imagined possible. But due to him being a hybrid, he got ill because of, one could say, cellular incompatibility. It was like a double-edged sword, human and Kryptonian's physiology not mixing, and it was killing John, the same thing that made him unique. They thought he was killed, or so they believed at the time. It was supposedly a temporary state of death to where his body had to kind of adjust to allow his hybrid body to properly align itself. Long story short, this Kryptonian was built and trained and was forged into a living weapon, even as a young person, grew up assuming he's getting stronger and getting better with his powers as time goes by throughout the years, fighting against metas. As the most powerful among the metas, it was up to him to control the metas in this timeline or whatever, or universe, controlling the metas by example or with deadly force. So this Jonathan was definitely a warrior. He has aspects about him that remind me of HL, a super strong Kryptonian from New 52 era that can use telekinesis. This version of John, one can say, indeed has other stuff that not all Kryptonians have, like telekinesis, aka one can say blast power. Like we know he has straight up blast power. One can say a great perk is that he can bend light with his telekinesis, go invisible thanks to this telekinetic ability to bend light around him. Like he's legit invisible, they can't see him by manipulating light. It appears he can drain people. Like it was literally stated that he has the ability to feed off the energy of metas, so he's calling this guy lunch. He has the standard durability stuff like other crypto, the standard stuff, super strength, super durability, blah, blah, blah. He's one of those characters that don't have the most flashy showings, but you kind of can get an idea of his strength by how he fights other Kryptonians by default. That's just like a common theme comparing him to other Kryptonians. Like, it's little stuff like this that should be common knowledge. Him doing this to these soldiers next. This is light work for a Kryptonian. Metahumans that control electricity. He's strong enough to withstand their attacks and completely murk them. Even if you got the size advantage, or if you're a being that can drain people of their energy or power, like Parasite he can tangle with. Like, it was straight up stated that he can drain, and the fact that Parasite's surprised, like, wait a minute, you're not supposed to be draining. I'm the drainer, but he says he can drain too, evenly matched when it comes to draining abilities. That was even a point where he was fused with the other Superboy. You know what? Let's not even go there. I mean, I already briefly mentioned that he had telekinesis along with other stuff Kryptonians have, like heat vision, all the 9 yards of the Kryptonians. He can rip them apart with his telekinesis here, for example. It's implied this is not laser vision because all you see is the areas being affected like that, like telekinesis type stuff. He can clear out a big area at the same time with it, like this. Shielding here, for example. He can use it as like a second sight to be able to see through the building by putting his hand on the wall. He can just kind of see the whole layout of the land. He made this medical device not work because of a telekinetic blast. He seems to be able to lift extremely heavy stuff like lifting an entire mountain. He can apparently sling, considering what Kryptonians have done in the past. Of course, him stating he can lift up a mountain is definitely something that's true. Lifting up a mountain or something like that is light compared to Kryptonians and what they do on a daily basis. This is proving he can already lift billions of tons. You see him scuffling with beings like Wonder, Girl, and Power. There's implications he has fighting speed, and this occasion with Flash. He makes a joke saying got a nanosecond, implying he can react in 1/1000th of a second, because that's what a nanosecond is, 1/100000th of a second. One can make an argument his super strength and telekinesis and all that stuff on top of how fast he can fight you or ram into you, fly into you, could possibly help his striking power. Not to mention he's able to keep up with Flash level beings. He seems to be a pretty high-end Kryptonian, seeing what he can do to Aquaman here. An army of fists faster than speeding bullets. It shows their combat speed. Punching them here, for example. If you're not new to the channel, you know this type of stuff is normal. We see 2 Superboy Kryptonian tiers. Like, he literally got thrown into the moon itself. 2 Superboys battling literally in the core of the moon. Like, you can see them literally, like, around heat and everything. One can say this shows their durability, literally fist fighting in the core of the moon. And this is the big crater they left after being punched through it out of the moon. I mean, as a Kryptonian tier, it should be no surprise that he should have the punching power to tremble a moon and stuff of that such, right? Or break the moon apart itself with his punches, right? Or blast, telekinesis, either or, durability-wise. They're going to stamp it in the core of it anyway, right? The best way to understand his strength is to compare him to the other Superboy. That's the best way, right? They was going through all this debris, fighting in the core of the moon, fighting in the heat like it wasn't no big deal. All these layers, they're just flying through like it ain't no big deal. When it comes to the amount of weight he can lift with his muscles or anything like that, I think a good way to understand his power is to compare him to the other Superboy, Con-El. Remember, Con-El is strong enough to lift entire cities. So whatever he can do, John should be able to do as well. They're literally matching each other. And the fact he can lift entire cities, billions upon billions of tons. Meaning with his telekinesis, just like how Khan can do that, he should telekinetically be able to lift an entire city up as well. And the other Superboy isn't far behind Supergirl. This should also apply to John. You know, you get the 9 yards. He's way above planet busting levels, you know. But let's get off this version of him. Let's get into the Rebirth him, John Samuel Kent. He went through some evolutions. We've seen him a lot when he was younger. Of course, we end up seeing him evolve, becoming like a true Superman, looking pretty cool in the process. Like I already mentioned in this video, he's a Kryptonian, so the same standard Kryptonian abilities should apply for him as well, but with some extra flares. Like Batman even stated that thanks to his genetics being a human Kryptonian hybrid in this universe, they state that he could be more powerful than Clark on his best day. It was even stated here, for example, that there will be new powers to manifest according to Batman based on the research he's been doing on John. Just like the previous John that I went over in this video, earlier in this video, this John can also do stuff other Kryptonians can't do. Like you guys already know, he's basically a solar battery. Due to his physiology, he'll be able to harness this solar energy in unique ways. But they say he could be stronger than their universe's version of Superman. And just for those that are wondering, their universe's version of Superman he's currently interacting with is the one from the Injustice video games, guys. Surprise. The same Superman that trembled entire planets fighting Darkseid in his world. And the one that could have ruptured the planet's core if he kept on fighting Darkseid with such intensity, this Injustice Superman. And based on Lex's analysis, they're trying to say he might be stronger than their universe's version of Superman, which would automatically make him a planet buster, but that's none of my business. I mean, them implying that he could be stronger than Injustice Superman is definitely believable when there's characters that can freeze beings in time, and Superboy is able to physically, or with one could say willpower, just break out of time freezing. I mean, it's just classic Superman stuff, breaking the laws of physics type stuff. They even say what happened, Superboy happened, of course, that strength. They're saying he could be a super threat if he learned how to harness it with training. As comics go on, you actually can see his power manifesting in different ways that other Kryptonians don't usually do. It was because of this Lazarus resin, a dangerous volatile substance that caused superpowers to manifest, change, or disappear altogether. And you already know this would happen. He has unique abilities thanks to him being able to release his solar energy in different ways thanks to this Lazarus resin. It fully unlocked it. Yeah, you see him use the lightning, his solar energies as lightning. He can use it to attack with. So yeah, it kind of reminds me of a Kryptonian mixed with a Flash. But it's one of them things he can't spam. It's like his solar energy, if he uses it all up, it can like go into his solar reserves to where he can feel it fading to where he's weakened afterwards. Like he can do full-blown electric energy projective type of blast. He has the standard Superman type stuff even while young, like super strength, being able to lift heavy stuff. Heat vision is expected. He has freeze breath. When it comes to his gear, it may not look like much what he's wearing, but he actually has Superman's old belt. It has Wi-Fi in it. So his belt is kind of high tech, if we're being honest. And it even has a force field, which has got him out of some sticky situations. Just like classic Superman weaknesses when it comes to his powers and stuff, his powers can be nullified or weakened by kryptonite, especially gold kryptonite. It will make him all the way powerless. So yeah, kryptonite's never good. He's apparently powerless, but you see this big entity right here? He's apparently powerless, but he still can flip a big entity powerless like this. Yeah, this dude is a strong kid. Red kryptonite has a weird effect on him to where it causes him to split into two separate beings. Like this is a throwback to the old comics where it was Superman red and blue. Yeah, it did this to him. So some feats in this video, you might see him in red or blue, just to give you a heads up on that. He still has super strength in these states. There's a lot of ways he can be considered strong. Blast power, his muscles. Don't use a sword on a Kryptonian till you're like him. Even if he's real young, he can snap such bullcrap. Starting off with a bang when it comes to his strength. I mean, this is standard Kryptonian stuff. Of course, it's confirmed by Lois that her kid, John, can lift up cars over his head. It doesn't really matter what age of him we're talking about, and probably will always be strong enough to catch vehicles even while this young, for example. Oh, what do you know? Another occasion of him stopping a car, catching or slowing down the car with his super strength. That's just casual. burning houses. This beam was about to break. Of course, he's strong enough to catch it. There was this helicopter that was out of control. Of course, these type of things he always can do with Superman. This metal statue, he can hold up with his strength that was trying to step on him. Thanks to red kryptonite, and when he was split up as red and blue, he still can do superhuman stuff, even though he was split. Like a spacecraft that's falling with ridiculous speed, he can help slow down with his strength, of course, even though it's massive. Because he's strong, even while split up into two. As you can see in this occasion, he can stop a train. I know he stopped the train, but I'm sure if he had to, he could probably lift the entire train if he wanted. I mean, just to give you an idea of what John has to compete against, Ultraman. Ultraman's somebody that can literally, physically just go up to the moon, fly up there, and move the moon to the point where he makes an eclipse. So it's natural with all this super strength. You know he can hit freaking hard. Size is basically irrelevant. Like, for example, this giant metal statue, he can punch and knock it back. Despite its massive size compared to him, it shows that size is irrelevant, like I just said. Mere mortals, or one can say super soldier tiers, like Damien, for example, he can just knock him out cold with ease. This is how he could have done Damien if he didn't hold back. So yeah, beings like him have to hold back against humans when he punches beings. He can just lift too much weight with his super strength, or just punching power. Doors are no match for his strength. Like, he can literally swing you around. Creatures that are way bigger than himself, like this creature, for example, get back with a punch. Don't ask. They was on a dinosaur island. Huge dinosaur entities that steal crypto from him. He will punch them. He doesn't care the size. There was this really large slime-looking monster. Yeah, you guessed it. He can take him on. I mean, it's pretty obvious that John is a planet buster. At the very least, we know he's way above that because being a powerhouse in DC Comics, you're just automatically a planet buster. Do you guys remember how I brought up the fact that, since John literally met Injustice Superman, the one from the video game? Yes, he actually met this guy. And do you also remember early in the video when I brought up that he's got so much solar power that he can use it in different ways? With training, he can learn how to control it. That ended up being electricity, like I brought up already. They even said in terms of raw power, you could be stronger than our Superman. This universe's version of the Superman they're talking about is Injustice Superman. The same Superman that can battle Darkseid on Apocalypse, the planet itself, and tremble the ground of Apocalypse, and also their fight is described as world-crushing. Injustice Superman is capable of this kind of stuff. His fight with Darkseid could rupture the planet's core itself, at least a planet buster. So we know this Injustice Superman's a planet buster. I mean, he literally got hit by Injustice Superman here. So remember how I already mentioned that this should automatically make John a planet buster, but there's more evidence of stuff like this if you don't want to just count this by itself. Like, for example, we've seen him do damage to Superman level threats like the Eradicator, somebody that's always a Superman consistent threat. Throughout the years, this can give you some idea. Even while he's young like this, he should be able to hang in there with the top tier Kryptonians, even if he's not exactly equal. It would be kind of weird if his punches couldn't tremble a planet, considering how low this is when it comes to DC powerhouses. It would be just disrespectful to say he couldn't do this. When Lex was wearing super high-tech armor, New God tech, he's able to do this with a kick. Like, it was even stated that he's one of the most dangerous beings on this planet. Despite Wonder Woman being right here, she's easily a planet buster just like the rest of the powerhouses. He can do the solar flare. One can say can level entire buildings. For example, here, releasing all the energy outwards at the same time can cause a huge explosion like at Titan's Tower like this, for example. It's pretty obvious he has the blast destructive ability to level buildings. There's implications that his heat vision or just raw concussive force of these blasts can do similar damage to his punches and stuff because we've seen him blast and stagger Doomsday here to get his dad free, for example. I mean, he's strong enough to hold his ground on Apocalypse, the planet, and he kind of doesn't take it seriously here, making jokes about school, letting you know how strong he is. Like, he's trolling around here. Laser vision and defending himself, making beings on this planet screaming agony, kicking in and punching them, just sitting here holding his ground. This can give you an idea of his raw power. Like, for example, his heat vision here kind of blasted Wonder Woman and pushed her back here, surprising her. We've seen his heat vision match beings like Starfire's blast with his own heat vision with raw power, even at a young age. These super duplicates of himself, he's just tearing them apart with his punches. Lex in his super-powered suit, for example, he was able to punch something off that was able to hold him. But what is the limits of him? How does he compare to the Man of Steel himself? I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say he's equal to the Man of Steel, but it's implied he can do damage to him, at least to some degree. So he's not too far away from him. I wouldn't say he's a million times weaker. Like, he might be weaker in his best, but he might not be that far off, if that makes sense. I mean, I already showed you in this video about Batman thinking his potential could possibly be better than Superman's potential, but that's none of my business. Yeah, but you got to keep in mind this was Manchester Black manipulating him into doing this stuff, but this should give you some sort of idea of his might, though, regardless of all this stuff. Notice how much power he can output. Like, he had like a peak emotion moment where he just went rage mode. And a lot of the powerhouses in the area had a hard time containing the radius because it was expanding too fast. Multiple flashes had to work together to try to keep it contained. Notice how this wasn't easy to contain something coming from John. Multiple beings like Beast Boy, Raven, Cassie with the lasso. Okay, so here's the thing. There's no exact math to stuff like this, but when we compare him to the actual main Superman himself in Rebirth, when it comes to raw power, that means how hard they can either hit or blast with their energy projective type of attacks, raw power-wise. If we compare these two, if there was a grid. If we assume the power level grid, Superman's at the very top, we can assume that he's up somewhere, but he's nowhere near like the Man of Steel, especially as young, but one can say his potential would change this. Like, I can understand, even if you don't want him to be way up here with Superman, but like, he gotta be not a billion, like he can't be way down here when it comes to power level. Like, he's got to be a little bit closer, like around this range, if you don't want to say he's up here with him like this. In this hypothetical grid, of course, since they virtually have the same powers, super strength and stuff like that, other than John having some differences here and there, we can get an idea of John with some of the strength feats Superman has done in the past. Like, an easy measurable feat, it would be like, comparing his strength to Lobo. We know Superman and Lobo have similar strength throughout all the continuities, right? That's just pure narrative and writer intent. The writers want Lobo to be at a certain strength level. That makes sense, right? I think the best way to look at it is that this guy, Lobo, was literally fighting a star. It was stated this being has stellar mass and he lacks leverage. Lobo said, I don't give a crap. He has the strength to pull a being that has stellar mass, a star. Even though this thing wasn't super duper duper massive, it stated he had stellar mass. And of course, stuff like this is not nowhere near the greatest of Superman's feats, but this is just a random ballpark I decided to choose for John. When Earth is way down here looking super small, we could technically use this to kind of understand how strong these Kryptonians are. As a minimum, we know 1,000,000 Earths can fit in the star. One could say they can support the weight or sling around millions of Earths. I think this kind of stuff should apply for John. He should be able to hit with the force or way above a star slamming on you. This should be a bare minimum because star shattering ain't nothing in DC. That would still be a lot he can move or pull. Or he would at least have the strength to move a couple moons. That's none of my business. Even if you don't just take all that stuff I just said as BS, you just don't even count it. He has to be somewhere in the league of the main Superman. Because one can say whatever he lacks in physicals, he could make up, his attacks could make up in power when it comes to his electric manipulation. Like in this occasion with Ultraman, an evil Superman, of course. And he was kind of able to do this to him. So it kind of shows he's in their ballpark. That dude's like literally a Superman equivalent type character. Hey guys, you remember this cosmic being, right? This being known as Anti-Monitor? This being that was responsible for this big Crisis on Infinite Earths event where he was threatening multiple universes, a cosmic centric multiversal threat type of being. Like, here's the thing. I'm not necessarily saying that Ultraman is exactly equal to like a full powered Anti-Monitor, but you see Anti-Monitor here, for example, looking different a little bit. Like, this had some high stakes, so he was still pretty powerful. Even if he's not at the crazy peak levels, if we just disrespect him, he's still obviously a powerhouse. We see Ultraman, somebody that John Kent was slugfesting with. We see Ultraman do this to Anti-Monitor's mouth with blood. Like, this is a lot of blood. But yeah, he did eventually get defeated. So I'm not trying to say he's necessarily equal to Anti-Monitor. This is a cosmic being we're talking about, guys. So basically, these occasions with Ultraman pretty much prove that his punches are even way worse than star shattering, honestly. Implications that his punches could be a threat to a galaxy or multiple galaxies based on the fact that he's making Anti-Monitor bleed. And John is slugfesting with beings that mighty that can draw blood from cosmic eccentric type beings like Anti-Monitor. It just kind of adds up. Powerhouses in DC being a threat to at least a universe or a couple universes or two is kind of normal in DC, honestly. All this raw strength, he has fighting speed to be able to react to lasers with his fighting speed. 175 hours of camera footage. He can put it in fast forward to look through it faster to get to where he needs to look at fast enough. Like, that's freaking fast. He has super eyesight, aka combat speed, one can say. Like, he's quite literally faster than the speed of bullet when it comes to moving from point A to point B. If you get sniped, he will be there before the bullet can reach. Like, you can see the bullet in mid-flight, he's too fast. When it comes to raw speed, he has to be at least light speed or way faster than the speed of light because light speed is nothing in DC. There's a ton of fast characters that are massively faster than the speed of light. I don't see any reason on him at his best or older, he should definitely be way faster than the speed of light. Like, notice how Superman casually talks about flying to another system or solar system. It lets you know they're casually faster than the speed of light. Like, he's literally with him. You can literally see them flying to different planets throughout space. Like, their raw speed is just that fast. Yeah, massive faster than speed of light. That's just normal stuff. And just as Wonder Woman apparently has the speed of a god, Hermes, and he says he's faster, He says she begins to react as they're passing Jupiter. That's light speed, y'all. He's using his lightning manipulation implications here to boost his speed faster than ever. So whatever you can say he might lack when he boosts himself with his lightning, one can say he can make himself up there or better than our favorite characters or whatever. It states he's moving quicker than he ever has before, faster than ancient deities, stronger than he's ever been. He was fast enough to remove Heart Girl's wings before she can even do anything back, then set her down safely. It's stated here, he moves so fast, he's moving faster than the great will can form, moving faster than fear. Before Hal knows I'm here, I'm removed his weapon of terror. He looks scared. Guys, but that's just about going to do it. Imagine the force of all these Earths landing on your face. That's what it feels like to be hit by a Kryptonian. John Kent. Hope you guys enjoyed, but what do you guys think? You guys probably already knew he was this strong. Did you somehow not know he was this strong? I want to hear what you guys think. But before I get going, respect John. And I got to say thanks for the donations, everybody. Helps out a lot. Respect them. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.